Shane. Yep.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevon Stewart, and I am the Director of District 6 of the United Steelworkers Union, representing more than 80,000 workers across Ontario and the Atlantic provinces. Welcome. This building that we're in is a building that has created a lot of great leaders, a lot of great activists, and you see this community was built around this wonderful building. We have some great local leaders with me today. Members from Local 7135, National Steel Car. Presidents and members from Local 1005, Stelco. Members from Local 8782, Lake Erie Works. Members from 16506 and 5328. And in this building right here has my international staff. And my international staff is responsible for the servicing assignments of these units around Hamilton. They do bargaining day in, day out. They do arbitrations day in and day out, and they work with the locals to make sure that everything is good. We have a dental clinic in this building. Union operate, and we make sure that we offer dental services to members at a cheaper rate. And also in this building, we have a job action centers, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to begin by recognizing the incredible work of our 3 action centers. It's because of their dedication that we're here today for this announcement. For those of you who do not know, the Steelworkers Union runs 3 job action centers, one of them in Toronto, one in Peel Halton, and one right here in this very building in Hamilton. Every year, in those 3 locations, our unions help between 1,000 to 2,000 dislocated workers. Our Action Center staff provide hands-on assistance, including preparing resumes, access to training, navigating EI rules, and finding new jobs. Our Action Centers were pioneered from the idea of peer-to-peer assistance, where laid-off workers are helped by laid-off workers. And we all know losing your job or seeing your plan close is traumatic. When you are faced with that kind of trauma, the kind of trauma that you experience when you can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay for dinner, and it is hard to just trust anyone. Getting help from someone who truly understands what you're going through makes all the difference. I am proud that our job action centers have been able to provide personalized peer-to-peer assistance to workers who need help. Our union, the Steelworkers Union, we represent more than 225,000 members across Canada in every sector of the economy: manufacturing, mining, energy, forestry, but also the service sector. We have staff at University of Toronto. We have staff at University of Guelph. And we also have staff at Queen's University. And let's not forget about transportation. We represent maintenance workers on CN Rail. So we see firsthand what happens when plants close because of trade wars or because of new technology has been developed. And we see what happens when the service sector or government downsizes. And the pace of economic disruption is only accelerating. On behalf of our members, let me be abundantly clear. The Steelworkers Union will never stop fighting to protect workers from these kinds of disruptions. Our union has seen many great challenges over the years, and we have always found a way to adapt and thrive despite the challenges. But this moment in time seems particularly challenging. The speed and the impact of technological change is accelerating. Up in the Soo, with Algoma. We're going to lose about 1,000 jobs because of the transition to electric arc furnace. A necessary change, but one that requires help for impacted workers. Right here in Hamilton, Stelco used to employ tens of thousands of employees. Now it doesn't. ArcelorMittal, right here again in Hamilton, recently announced that they're closing their wire mill facility, which has been a pillar of this community for well over 60 years, impacting 130 steelworkers members. As a union leader, I understand industries need to compete and improve productivity. But I also believe we must ensure that workers are never left behind. We have to work to ensure that laid-off workers get much-needed support and are given the best possible opportunity to either retire or find a new job. But the biggest threat to steelworkers' jobs right now comes from south of the border. The largest threat to manufacturing jobs right now comes from the United States, where Donald Trump has imposed huge tariffs on Canadian steel, on aluminum, and on other products too. Canadian and American manufacturers have an integrated supply chain, and these tariffs cost jobs on both sides of the borders. Responding to this will not be easy, but it is necessary. In this environment, when Canada cannot count on access to its biggest export partner, and when technological change is eliminating good-paying manufacturing jobs at an increasing rate, we need governments, both provincially and federally, to find a way to help workers that are impacted. So, at a time when workers need help dealing with economic upheaval that we're all experiencing, we're glad that the government is here today to make an announcement that will surely assist impacted workers going forward. I realize it is hard to be optimistic when our most important trading partner is attacking us with tariffs. And I realize that our members have lots of challenges during these turbulent times. I want to end my remarks on a note of optimism, despite the challenges that we currently face. I want to close with 4 reasons why I remain optimistic. First, as a country, we have much to celebrate, including our great workers and our great economy. We have faced challenges before, and we will face this one. The fact that leaders from all parties are coming together to help workers at a time of crisis is a statement and a sentiment of how united we are. Second, I'm very pleased that the province has recognized the need to support workers impacted by trade tariffs and technological change, and for recognizing the important role that our job action has played in providing that support. Third, we have a tremendous workforce right here in Ontario made up of abundant steelworkers, and I think that it will always give us an advantage. And finally, the fact that our action centers were the inspiration for this policy announcement makes me feel proud of our union and makes me feel that we're on the right track. So thank you very much, and in solidarity. I would like to introduce Ken Delaney from CSTEC that's going to come up and say some words about his Job Action Center as well. Ken?
Good job.
Thanks, Kevon. And thanks, everybody, for showing up. And thanks to the Premier and the Minister and the staff. This is the best audiovisual equipment I've ever seen when I've been speaking. This is some serious stuff. It's great for me to be back in this building. My personal history with the Steelworkers Union goes all the way back to when I moved up here from Detroit in 1985 and first started work with them. And there's a lot of great history that has, steelworker history that has occurred within these walls. And one of the bits of that history, and I guess what we're going to talk about today, is the action centers themselves. I mean, I've been here many times, been through several Stelco insolvencies, working with 1005 and the other Stelco locals as we find a path forward and help Stelco emerge from insolvency. And I'm pretty sure I once taught a pension course here in this room, actually, back in the early 90s. So it's great to be back here. When I first learned that the province was considering expanding the use of unions creating action centers to help dislocated workers, I was really thrilled. Kevon spoke eloquently, I think, about some of the achievements of the action centers themselves. So I'll just say, congratulations for every year helping over 1,000 workers. And I'll keep my comments to the broader context. I want to say that I'm really happy that this policy announcement is coming today. And I see it as an important part of a broader approach to helping manufacturing workers in the manufacturing sector. We are right now, as Kevon mentioned, as I'm sure the Premier and the Minister will too, the manufacturing sector is under economic attack right now. We have unreasonable and unjustified tariffs. A 50% tariff, nobody has a 50% profit margin on their products in the manufacturing sector. So 50% tariff is really a killer. And at a time like this, you need to be innovative and you need government action. And sadly, the knowledge that workers on both sides of the border are hurt by these tariffs doesn't seem to be enough to motivate the administration in Washington to change its mind. So in this environment, how are we going to do this? Workers need help. They certainly need peer-to-peer assistance, and so any initiative that can expand the work of the action centers is welcome as far as I'm concerned. So thank you, Premier Ford, and thank you, Minister Piccini, for what you're about to tell us. But workers also need access to training subsidies. They need individualized back-to-work action plans. They need more opportunities for industrial apprenticeships. Workers need jobs, and believe me, many manufacturers need industrial tradespeople. They need new tools to help assess their skills and enable them to find pathways to new careers when they've been dislocated. They need unemployment insurance to be flexible enough for them to get training and collect EI. They need better labor market information, and they need systems and processes in place that enables the workers themselves and the unions that represent them to bring together regional employers and governments and trainers and find a better way to help dislocated workers find a path forward. So there's much work to be done, and so we're also pleased that the province has recently issued a call for proposals under their Skills Development Fund. We at CSTEC will certainly be looking into that. As Kevon mentioned, we're expecting big layoffs up in Sault Ste. Marie at Algoma Steel, and unfortunately, as long as the tariff threat remains, there'll be more layoffs coming as well. So I also want to congratulate the province for issuing a call for proposals under the Skills Development Fund. We certainly are going to be looking into that. We'd like to see, I think there's a time right now. The threat from the United States has created an opportunity. I'm as excited as anybody to see the premiers and the Prime Minister working together across the country to try to come up with an effective plan to cope with these tariffs. So in this moment, I think I urge all stakeholders to come together, to be creative, and try and find a way to move us forward in the right direction and find a better way to help dislocated workers find their path. So again, thank you, Premier Ford. Thank you, Minister Piccini. And I will now introduce Gary Howe. Gary Howe is a good friend of mine. I've known him for, probably 40 years. He used to be the president of the Local 1005, which at one time was the largest local in Ontario, the people that worked at Stelco. And he's now the chair of the Hamilton Action Centre, and he's going to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Premier. Good morning, Minister, and all the guests. It's great to see everybody this morning. As Ken said, I have the blessing to be the chair of the Hamilton and Peel Halton Action Centre. And before that, I worked at Stelco for over 40 years, and I was an industrial mechanic by trade. The key, and the one thing I just want to stress, and I'm going to keep my remarks short this morning, is that the reason we've been so successful is because of our approach with the peer helper approach, where workers are help workers. That's what we believe in, and we found has been successful. So all the staff in Hamilton, Peel, and in Toronto come out of manufacturing, and most have all experienced layoffs and plant closures. And as I said, we believe in the peer helper approach, and we really feel that our members trust us, and everyone that comes in trusts us, and we have the results that prove that. So since 2002, we have met or exceeded our targets year after year, servicing over 15,000 workers across 3 different action centers. We help our members do resumes, handle job interviews, and provide support to get a new job or a new career. So we're hoping that working with the province and our partnership with CSTEC, we'll be able to do even more for our members. So we're looking to try to create opportunities to offer more training options for displaced workers to adjust to the different careers. And CSTEC provides new tools to find where the jobs are with labor market information and give our members new skills to be able to get those jobs. So we're looking forward to trying to work with CSTEC, because one of the things we were talking earlier too with the minister is about how important trades training is and apprenticeship opportunities for young workers and all workers. So just to close out, our motto with the steelworkers is steelworkers helping steelworkers, and now we're hoping we can do even more in this difficult time with the period of tariffs and economic uncertainty. So that's our goal. We're going to meet it. So thank you. Thanks everyone for coming today.
Good morning, everyone. Monica Suriello, MPP from Hamilton Mountain, and alongside Minister Lumsden from Hamilton East Stony Creek, we are honored to welcome our colleagues, both MPP Scott, Swaby, Minister Piccini, and Premier Ford, the workers and leaders from the United Steelworkers as well. It is only fitting that we deliver this announcement in Hamilton, as it is widely considered to be the industrial heart of this province. From the steel to the skilled trades, our workforce has powered Ontario's economy for generations. But with the impact of new U.S. tariffs, too many hardworking people in our community are currently facing uncertainty. And that's why today we gather together. It is a proactive response from our government that will provide security to our skilled workers, ensuring that families across Ontario can continue to thrive throughout our great province. Under the leadership of Premier Ford, our government will always stand with our skilled workers. It's their hard work that builds our cities, supports our families, and will continue to drive our economy. Thank you, and I would like to hand it over to Minister Piccini to say a few words.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, MPP Suriello, for that very kind introduction. It's always wonderful to be here in Hamilton alongside 2 incredible colleagues from Hamilton, Minister Lumsden, MPP Suriello, another fellow steelworking town, heart of Ontario's industry, PA Chris Scott, who's joined us here today, and he's been a champion in the Sioux. Of course, my parliamentary assistant, MPP Sharif Sabawi. He and I are laser focused on skills development and career pathways, meaningful pathways in the province of Ontario. And last but certainly not least, it's a pleasure to be here with Premier Ford, who's time and time again has stepped up to protect Ontario's workforce, who are at the heart of our economy. I want to thank the amazing people here, United Steelworkers. Kevon, thank you for your leadership. Kevon is always a phone call away. When things happen, we're speaking right away. He's challenged government. Good public policy, I would say, can happen from nice conversations, but sometimes the best public policy happens from challenging ones. And we've never shied away to have them. And Kevon, thank you for being such a strong leader. Ken, Gary, for your remarks and the important and seminal role you've played ensuring we're always here for steelworkers in Ontario. Thank you very much. Steelworkers Local 5328 for hosting us. Hamilton has always been at the heart of Ontario's steel industry, as you heard. And it's personal for me. My grandfather, when he immigrated here, he worked for the Steel Company of Canada, Stelco, at the Hilton Works plant. Steelworkers have a proud legacy of building this province, an economic engine of our economy from the Soo to Hamilton and in so many regions across our province. And today, the men and women in this room are carrying that legacy forward. And we need that now more than ever before, because we all know the challenges, very real challenges we are facing. President Trump has launched an economic storm that is having real impacts across the globe. And as their closest trading partner, we're not immune from that. But here in Hamilton, we know the strength of Team Ontario. Steel built this city. It's the hardworking steelworkers who are its backbone. And this is a government that will stand with them to protect Ontario workers and to continue to deliver on our plan that we took to the people. And as a part of that plan, we've already committed an additional $1 billion over the next 3 years through the Skills Development Fund that you heard about earlier, totaling our investment to over $2.5 billion. But what that fund is a recognition that training occurs everywhere. And from K to Grey, we finally have a premier that recognizes that continuing education matters. And that wherever we're doing it across Ontario, you have a government that's going to stand up and support you, linking that skills training to employers. We've announced our first phase of Protecting Ontario account, providing tariff-impacted businesses in the steel, aluminum, and auto sectors with over $1 billion in support. And we've delivered the Ontario-made manufacturing investment tax credits, supporting businesses investing in Ontario with up to $1.3 billion. This is a moment that has united us more than ever before, where you see leaders from all stripes, all walks of life, working together, ready to nation build. To nation build, you need a workforce, and we've got the best workers right here in Ontario. These tariffs have directly impacted some of our most vital industries, from construction to manufacturing, and especially the men and women standing with us here today. This is an unprecedented time that requires strong, decisive actions and real solutions, and it demands a government that is ready with a plan for the best moments, but also a plan for the most challenging moments. That is the plan that Premier Ford took to the people. And today, just a few months later, Premier Ford's delivering, our government's delivering on that plan to protect Ontario workers, who know that during unprecedented times, their government, under the leadership of this Premier and this team, will be there. That's why today I'm proud to stand alongside my colleagues, alongside steelworkers, alongside so many men and women who are on the front lines of training a next generation, and our Premier to make an announcement that will make a real difference in the lives of workers across the province. These workers are our greatest strength. Their skills built the past, but these workers are our future. We took that plan to the people. We said we would have a plan to protect them, and we're delivering on that plan and that commitment. Promise made, promise kept. As you heard, unprecedented times call for a real plan. And I'm really proud that as Labour Minister, this Premier has stood up to support skills training for some of the most vulnerable, to break down barriers, and where we are today, have more youth in apprenticeships than at any time in the last decade. We have more young men and women entering apprenticeships than at any time in the last decade. And we've launched our Skills Development Fund to recognize that from K to Grey, when you want better training for better jobs with bigger paychecks, we're going to be there as a government to support you. So with that, I'm proud to introduce Premier Doug Ford, who stood up to protect workers, who's delivering on a promise we made to the people. Well, today it's a promise kept. Premier Doug Ford. Thank you.
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone. And it's great to be back here in Hamilton. And you just heard the great Minister Piccini. He works his back off all day long, making sure he protects the workers, along with Minister Lumsden and PA Scott, and we're going to be up in Algoma to support your community as well. And you heard from Monica and Sharif Sabawe. Thank you for your support as well. I want to thank the United Steelworkers for hosting us here today. And I also want to acknowledge USW's District Director, Kevin. It was good to see you again. We're going to work well together to make sure that we protect the sector, as well as Ken and Gary. And Ken, you made a point about, every crisis there's an opportunity, and we'll speak about those opportunities because there's endless opportunities, and we have the skill set to move forward and attract new opportunities for people. And I also want to acknowledge all the local union leaders joining us here today. As you all know, President Trump is taking direct aim at Ontario's economy, and in particular, our steel, aluminum, forestry, and auto sectors. In the face of President Trump's tariffs, it is more important than ever that we pull together with unions, business leaders, and all levels of government so we can protect Ontario and have the backs of our workers. And I've always said, since the day I got elected, but especially lately, I will always, and I won't spare a penny, to protect the frontline, hardworking people of this province, protect their communities, protect the companies they work for, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure not only do we protect their jobs, but look at future jobs as well. So I'm thrilled to be here today, sending a strong, united message that we will do everything in our power to protect Ontario workers and stand up for our province and our country. One of the best ways we can do this is to deliver on our plan to make Ontario the most resilient, self-reliant, and competitive economy in the G7. We need to cut the red tape and lower the cost of doing business so we can attract new investments, create jobs, and withstand whatever comes our way, not just from President Trump, but from any challenge we face for decades to come. And I was saying to the Prime Minister, and I've said it out in the news numerous times, I can sit here and hammer the you-know-what out of Trump all day long, and that's pretty easy to do. But let's start looking internally what we can do. How can we make ourselves more competitive? How can we create an environment and the conditions to attract new investments from around the world and companies here? There's many ways of doing it. Taking the burden and regulatory burden off the backs of companies. Kevin, you mentioned the mining sector. We have the largest mining sector in the entire world. The problem is it takes 15 years because of regulatory burden to get the critical minerals out of the ground. Those days are done. They're gone. We're going to compete against the rest of the world. We're going to make sure that we get those permits so the mining companies can employ great steelworker union members up in the mines and give them certainty to bring home a paycheck by cutting it down to no longer than 24 months. And that's why we're also doubling down on our more than $200 billion plan to build so we can keep Ontario workers on the job no matter what. Just here in Hamilton, this plan to build includes 14 kilometers of Hamilton LRT project. And what do they have? They have the steel rails. But guess what, folks? We don't even make the steel rails here, but we're going to start making steel rails here because we have track. We have the largest transit project in North America. So we need to be building that here, along with our steel I-beams. We need to be building it here. The problem is we got too comfortable with our closest friend and ally, with the United States. No one in a million years would think the guy named President Trump would come along and start an economic war with his closest friend and ally, not to mention, with the rest of the world. And the rest of the world goes back and kisses behind all the time. Oh, yes, yes. We aren't going to do that. We're going to fight like we've never fought before because we're Canada. We're resilient. We have the best workers in the entire world. We have the best skill set. And more importantly, we're the number one customer that buys $359 billion of products off them. And every morning, 9 million Americans wake up to build a widget, to build a part, to provide a service just for Ontario. It's close to 20 million over 20 million across the country. but which we'll connect 50,000 on that LRT. We're going to connect 50,000 commuters each day to expanded Hamilton bus and GO transit systems. We've also recently completed upgrades on the West Harbour GO station, which is saving commuters between Hamilton and Niagara about 15 minutes per trip. But you see the QEW is packed. I think you could run quicker than get down the QEW now. It's unbelievable. But we're coming up with a solution for that one too. And through our nearly $60 billion investment in more than 50 hospitals across the province. The reason I'm mentioning this, folks, what does every hospital need when you build? They need steel. There's steel all over the hospital. And even on the transit, we need steel. We're supporting the redevelopment of Dravinsky Hospital, and that's going to be really exciting when we get that done. We're also working with cities across the province to build more homes faster. Just this week, I announced that we're increasing our investment in the housing enabling infrastructure, which is $4 billion. That funding includes nearly $10 million for the downtown Hamilton water main upgrade project to support over 24,000 new homes. And all this equals jobs and opportunities for people and making sure that we continue building the infrastructure. And as we invest in this plan to build, we're making sure to use Ontario-made products like steel, like timber, and vehicles wherever we can. As I mentioned to all the premiers, I don't direct the premiers. I ask very nicely that when they buy vehicles, they buy Ontario-made vehicles across the country. We've directed, when possible, I always say when possible, to every government agency, buy Ontario-made vehicles. We need the steel for the vehicles, and we create more jobs if we buy it here. We have massive buying power. And we spend, excluding the $200 billion on infrastructure, and I've been very, very clear to the folks at Infrastructure and Metrolinx, you better be buying Ontario products. And unless it's impossible, look across the country, and then after we exhaust that, then we can buy somewhere else. But I'm encouraging, as I said, all levels of government, including municipalities, to do the same. Every nut, every bolt that is paid by Canadian tax dollars should be made right here in Canada. That includes the federal government's national shipbuilding strategy. So we have a great shipbuilding company down the street from here, and I give it to the PM and all the premiers. God bless the folks in Nova Scotia. I love the premier. I love the people out there. They're building ships out there. Davies in Quebec, they're building ships. But we're getting crumbs. We're getting crumbs, and we have to start getting the contracts to build the ship. It's pretty sad when a shipbuilding company out in the east uses steel from Europe. It's pretty sad when going out west and they're talking about pipelines getting the steel, and that's not going to happen, by the way, steel pipes from down south of the border. And it's absolutely terrible that the federal government, the BC government, are buying ferry boats off of China. Like, come on, let's wake up and start supporting Canadian companies. Well, I hear it's too expensive to get that steel from Ontario over to the West Coast. Well, we'll invest. We'll invest into the railroads and rail lines to put our steel on and get it out to the west of the country, because they want us to use their oil, they want us to use their goods, they want to ship us wine and everything else. Well, you better start supporting everyone across the country. Ontario workers have the know-how and the capacity to build the ships our Navy needs. And I'm urging the federal government to make sure these workers are included in this strategy. And again, the shipyards, just the Heddle shipyards to be exact, down there, they have great workers and they need some contracts, because I'll be all over the federal government until we get a fair slice of the pie. To support Ontario workers, our government is also investing $2.5 billion in our Skills Development Fund, and thank you, David, for pushing that. That's another additional $1 billion to help train workers across the province so they can find good-paying jobs and support Ontario workers. And I encourage United Steelworkers, please apply for that money. It's sitting there, and we'd be happy to come over and present a check for you. But in the face of President Trump's tariffs, we need to do even more. Since this year's provincial election, our government has made close to $30 billion available to support workers and businesses that are being hit by President Trump's tariffs. Last week, we launched the $1 billion Protect Ontario financing program, which will provide immediate liquidity for tariff-hit businesses so they can keep their doors open and keep making payroll. And today, we're announcing the next step of our plan with $70 million for training and employment services to protect Ontario workers. $20 million for this investment will go towards our new Protect Ontario Workers Employment Response Centers, or Power Centers. These centers will provide workers with immediate access to training and employment services, and we're doing this proactively so these centers are ready to go when workers need them. We're also putting another $50 million towards the Better Jobs Ontario program, which will provide funding for things like tuition, transportation, and childcare, so people can access training for in-demand jobs and get back to work as fast as possible. These investments will provide critical, direct, and immediate support for Ontario workers when they need it most. And it's just the latest step we're taking to protect Ontario. I want to thank all the great workers and the union members here today. I'll always have your backs, and I want to promise you our government will be there for you when you need the help. I want to thank you, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you so much.
We will now take questions from the media. Please come to the microphone and state your name and outlet. Just a reminder, it's one question and one follow-up. First question.
Hi, Tessa Bennett, CHCH News. This question is for you, Premier Ford. So just yesterday, President Trump expanded his steel and aluminum tariffs to include over 400 more products. First, I'd like to know your reaction to that and how you plan to help steelworkers, specifically here in Hamilton, as these tariffs come into effect in the coming weeks.
Well, first of all, this guy's not going to stop. You can either run away or, fall down and wave the white flag. We should never do that. We should hit him back twice as hard, and I've said this to the Prime Minister. If you roll over, this guy just keeps beating you and beating you and beating you. No, let's start hitting back. Start hitting back hard. Again, we do $359 billion of products we buy off the U.S. And a tariff on Canada is a tax on Americans. There isn't one American congressperson, not one American senator or a governor that agrees with his tactics. But guess what? They're terrified of him. I spoke to two Republicans yesterday. They totally disagree. And Rand Paul, thank you. He's the only one, maybe there are a few other senators, that actually stand up to the president. Imagine that. You have a leader of the country that's supposed to unite everyone, and he's saying, if you say anything bad against me, I'm going to defeat you, I'm going to knock you off in the next election. You won't be representing our party. Well, he has a rude awakening. We aren't going to roll over. We aren't going to kiss his backside. We're going to fight like we've never fought before. And we're also, as David just announced, we just announced over $70 million for additional training and working with people that may be in jeopardy of losing their job. I don't even like saying losing your job. I want to say there's going to be new opportunities for more jobs here. I'm going to tell you something about the steel sector. So we have a quota, and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here. So we had a quota of about 60%, so they can ship in all over the world, proxy countries, that throw a sticker made in whatever country it is, and meanwhile it's cheap Chinese steel. They come over and they take our steel jobs. So at one time it was 60%, anything over on top of that, you get tariffed. So the Prime Minister knocks it down to 50%, and thank you for the 10%, we appreciate it, but it's not good enough. So we can get countries shipping in cheap steel, and they can ship up to 50%, and then over the top of that, they get tariffed. No. We want 25%. They're allowed 25%, and then they get tariffed on 75%. That single move would save thousands of jobs in the steel sector. We won't have to worry about his tariffs. As long as we make that move, and I've mentioned this to the Prime Minister, it has to happen. 100% it has to happen.
And how are you engaging with steelworkers here in Hamilton to make sure that their voices are heard when you're engaging in trade talks with the Prime Minister?
Well, my minister's doing a great job, and I just want to thank the union leaders. You know, they're here. And Kevon, we've met before, you're doing an incredible job with all the other locals. This is a time to work together. You know, let's forget these political stripes that drive me crazy from the day I got elected. I don't give two hoots about, you know, you supported this person, that union supported. I don't care. We're on one team. It's called Team Canada. We work together because we have the greatest workers in the world, and we can compete, and we will compete, and we will make sure that we have their backs. We'll make sure companies, be it Dofasco, Algoma, or Stelco, and by the way, not the workers at Stelco, because I love the workers. But their owner, I got a problem with that guy. He's signing all these forms, Cleveland Cliffs or whatever the heck their name is, bring the steel down to the U.S. That's the owner. He doesn't give two hoots about his workers at Stelco when he's signing all these letters, because I've seen these letters. Guess what? There's one company that doesn't sign those letters. That's Dofasco. And Algoma, I don't believe, signed them either. So maybe they should find a new owner for Stelco. Or maybe we should just buy him. And why doesn't he just stay in the U.S.? Because I'm done with this guy signing letters saying, yeah, bring all the steel down to the U.S., tariff the crap out of Canadians. This is the owner. So remember that, Stelco workers, when your owner comes prancing through your place. He doesn't support you. And I look forward to getting a phone call from him because he has my cell number.
Thank you.
I'm going to blast him. Sorry, guys. I get passionate about this because I want to protect our country and our province, and I love the frontline workers. And if I don't kick back, no one else is going to kick back at these guys.
Hi, Premier. Barbara with QP Briefing.
Hi, Barbara.
So the CFIB is saying that if nothing changes in regard to the U.S. tariffs, we will see more business closing, 1 in 5 actually, and specifically small business as well. And the retaliatory tariffs are hurting them too. So do we have a plan yet specifically to support them? I know you announced funding for industries that were directly affected by the tariffs, but what about small businesses?
Great question. Well, first of all, what I believe, there's a few things that we can, and there's many things, but let's just talk about a few things. First of all, let's start putting money back into people's pockets by reducing their tax burden. Let's start attracting companies and creating the environment to be the most competitive place in the world to invest in, like our direct foreign investment. We had over 409 companies come in, foreign countries, invest $39.875 billion and employs 25,000 people. Because when these international companies are looking, they're looking at the most competitive place. So let's make ourselves the most competitive place. When I opened up in Chicago back in 98, 99, you know, they had a higher corporate tax in the U.S. than in Canada. So we put it in a holding company in Canada. That's what we need here. Put money into people's pockets. They're going to go out and stimulate the economy. Put money into businesses' pockets. They're going to, first of all, invest in their people, into their technology, into their infrastructure, into their buildings. That's one part. And when it comes to housing, first of all, the Governor of Bank of Canada, you have to lower these damn interest rates. It's driving me crazy. You keep saying, we get inflation below 2%, we'll lower them. Well, we're at 2.75%. Folks, there's a lot of people in this room who are going to be renewing their mortgages. And I don't want you to get hit. We need to lower that and stimulate the economy. If you lower interest rates, a lot of these builders, great LIUNA workers, they're going to be able to build more towers here in Hamilton. And they're going to go out and get finance from the bank. And guess what? People will be able to get affordable financing. And then the stress tests as well. You know, the bank's throwing another 2%. I don't want to get too deep into this. They're adding an additional 2% in case the interest rates go up. Cut that back 1%. These are just simple things. Development charges from these cities. Half a loaf is better than no loaf, because right now construction's not happening because before you get the shovel in the ground, $300 a square foot or $150,000 goes into the cities. Get rid of those things. So we're creating the environment for people to be able to move forward. and save a little bit of money. These are just a few things that we can do, but it'd make a massive change. HST, my last one here. So HST on new home buyers, let's get rid of it. I'll match the federal government. So that's a big chunk of change. When you're buying a place, $800,000, you're lucky to find one $800,000 or even $1 million. You're going to be saving a lot of money. You're going to be saving 130 grand back into the person's pockets. So those are just a few things that, in onshoring, we got to onshore every single thing possible that we have the capacity to do. Tin cans, here's my last one, I promise. Tin cans from Dofasco. That tin gets shipped down to the U.S. Guess what? They make tins and they ship them back up. No, that's stopping. Dofasco keeps selling your tin down there, but save a whole bunch for us because we're going to bring a tin manufacturer to produce approximately 1.3 billion tins that we use here in Ontario. They'll be manufactured here, and hopefully with the United Steelworkers Union members on that production line producing tin cans along with aluminum cans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have an immigration question for the minister, but feel free to share your thoughts as well. I wanted to know if the reduction in PNP spots has forced the province to delay or revise any development plans yet. Also, there is recent IRCC data showing that there are very few occupation-based draws this year, and the only category that has actually increased in draws is for French speakers outside Quebec. Do you think we need more French speakers here in Ontario, and what are your thoughts on this current draw strategy?
Well, we're a big Francophone community, about 600,000 people, but I'm focused on jobs. I'm not just focused on can you speak French or English or whatever language. I want jobs. Simple as that. But David, over to you, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks, Premier. Yes, I mean, we have joined other premiers and other provinces in calling for more autonomy. We're a very big country, and our both geography and regional economic needs vary, which is why the PNP, or for those who don't know, Provincial Nominee Program, helps us zero in on specific draws for specific areas. In Ontario, we've been very focused recently with draws in healthcare. For Francophones, we've seen targeted draws and are always looking for Francophones to support, for example, in our teaching sector. Early childhood educators as well are some recent draws that we've done here in Ontario. But I will say we've called on the federal government to really look at things like healthcare, education, and housing capacity. Behind you stands a variety of different remarkable organizations who are on the front lines trying to support temporary residents. And we have too many temporary residents coming into Canada for our ability to both support and integrate. And it's left to them. And the stories I hear are heartbreaking. And you have to just be empathetic for just basic humanity. And we are addressing through our PNP draws exclusively for temporary residents who are here within country to fill in demand fields like healthcare, like early childhood education, like teachers in the Francophone community. So that's where our focus is, but I'll just close in reiterating the need for more autonomy and increased allocation for Ontario to meet our unique economic needs. Thank you.
Minister, just very quickly, can I just ask if the cuts in the PNP had any impacts yet on any development projects, infrastructure?
I mean, the cuts to our PNP are having a very real impact. There's not a day goes by that we don't get stories from companies. We just had AMO. I was with Mayor Brown. The delegation from Peel told us 2 companies literally are telling us that their future is dependent on a workforce that is already there, people paying taxes, mums and dads who are putting food on the table for their kids, watching their kids, get ready for a new school year, and this is impacting. And what we're saying is, we know this. We're on the ground. Premier Ford's visited these manufacturing plants. We've set the conditions to attract new ones. And so when we hear from mayors that we don't have that ability to surgically draw people to fill in-demand needs, again, we want more autonomy, we want more allocation. Quebec's got all of that. And it's high time they recognize that the engine of our economy is Ontario. And this Premier is creating the conditions for growth, and they should give us the same treatment they give Quebec. Thank you.
Bang on. And I did mention that in front of my good friend Francois Legault and all the other premiers. What's good for Quebec should be good for everyone else. That's what we need to be. Just treated fairly, like they do. They get.
Hello, Premier. Matthew Van Dongen from the Hamilton Spectator. Thanks for taking the questions.
Hi, Matthew.
You mentioned Hamilton's LRT project and the fact that we don't make I-beams locally or rails for those projects. What can the province realistically do to encourage that? Is that going to happen in time for a project like Hamilton's?
Well, if it doesn't happen in time, then we do it for the next project, because we're building the largest transit system in North America, and we're going to continue expanding the GO service and continue building LRTs. But that's a conversation we may have with Algoma there, because Chris is smiling. They can produce those, so maybe they can ramp up really, really quick. And this is where the federal government, which will be supporting Algoma, I got that confirmed, and Ontario will be, to produce these rails, but also other things, from steel beams and everything else you can possibly think of. You've heard me talk about the aluminum cans, bringing them back onshore, those aluminum cans. But everything, we should not take a back seat, folks. We are still an economic powerhouse around the world. As I always say, we buy more products than Japan, China, Korea, UK, and France combined off the U.S. So they need us, and yes, we need them too.
Thank you. You also spoke earlier about obviously speeding up housing development in the province.
Yes.
The city has a big project that they care a lot about. It's market and affordable housing right near our GO station downtown. It's been sort of spinning its wheels for years, and the latest delay is an appeal by CN Rail over that project. We've submitted an MZO from the city request looking for help from the province to uninstall that project. Is that something that the province is looking at helping us out with?
Well, we'll look into it. They just told me about this before I walked out, about this MZO, and we look through every single MZO, and if the city's asking for it, we'll definitely consider it. We got to find out what the problem is with CN, why they don't want this. But I believe in building homes, so that trumps anything else as far as I'm concerned.
Hi, my name is Aura. I'm with CBC Hamilton. Premier Ford, what is your response to the news that a 16-year-old boy has been released on bail after murder and attempted murder charges were stayed due to a lack of sufficient evidence in connection to a mass shooting outside a Toronto high school where 2 people died in June 2024?
We should change the Young Offenders Act. I'll tell you one thing. When I was 16, and every person in this room, when they're 16, they're smart enough to know if you grab a gun and start shooting people, shooting the neighborhood up, or shooting people, and you kill them, you should be in jail. That's one thing I got a pet peeve about. The criminal code is controlled by the federal government. And we have to start holding people accountable, because these people are, these young kids are running around, and they're kids, 16 to 18 years old, breaking into homes. You heard about that one family. 8 people showed up to their home, eight guys, and they pistol whipped the father. The mother had the 1-year-old begging that they don't touch him, ripping the rings off. This is just out of control now here. People have to be held accountable. And then, once I'm on a roll now, did everyone hear about the story in Lindsay? So this criminal that's wanted by the police breaks into this guy's house. This guy gives him a beating, and this guy gets charged. And the other guy gets charged. But, something is broken. I know if someone breaks into my house or someone else's, you're going to fight for your life. This guy has a weapon. You're going to use any force you possibly can to protect your family. I'm telling you, I know everyone would. I'd be scared to break into Kevon's house. Look at this. He's like a linebacker. He'd beat the living crap out of the guy, as he should. Because enough's enough here. Violence and breaking into people's homes, putting guns to their head. And guess what? Some bleeding heart judge, little Johnny, he didn't have a good upbringing. So we're going to let him out on bail 5 more times because he's on his fifth, being let out on bail 5 times, just to go do the same thing the next day. I'll tell you one thing, I get more calls than anyone in the country. People are done with this. They're absolutely done. They're finished. You should be able to protect your family when someone's going in there to harm your family and your kids. You should use all resources you possibly can to protect your family. And maybe these criminals will think twice about breaking into someone's home.
Thank you. And
You're welcome.
CBC requested for the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks emissions report from top polluters in Hamilton, which the ministry has, but has not released publicly after months of our requests. Why would the province be withholding from the public what's in the air they are breathing?
Good question. I'll have to ask the Minister of Environment that. There's no reason to hold it. Our emissions are the lowest, one of the lowest in the entire world, just to let you know. Through our leadership in nuclear around the world, we're leading the G7 in the small modular reactors. That is clean, green, reliable energy. That's the route to go. And the electric arc furnaces. And it really, actually, it's the right thing to do, but it bothers me that those folks are losing jobs in Algoma. We have to find them another product that they can produce. It's the right, like Kevin said, it's the right thing to do, but we got to find these people jobs. So it's good for the economy, the environment, but our focus is to find another line and support and fund Algoma or any other company that can produce products that will save those jobs. That's my number one priority, is to protect jobs and people.
Hello, Premier Ford. I'm Karen Nickerson. I'm with Village Media, Flamborough today. So in Hamilton, some of the major employers are American-owned companies that operate in Canada, like Stryker, L3 Harris, and Course Lab. Where does the province stand on U.S. companies that are operating in Ontario and the job security there?
Hire more people. I was just at L3, and they have over 1,000 people up there, and Stryker too. Keep expanding. And, even the technology that L3 has, I want every single person, every helicopter that we're purchasing to have one of the L3 cameras on there. We need to support them because they employ a lot of people here, those companies that you just mentioned, and they're going to continue to grow.
Okay. And then reliable internet is an important part of finding job security for rural people. What is the future of expanding rural internet connection now that the deal with Starlink has been canceled?
Well, we're investing over $4 billion to connect every single person with high-speed internet. And we canceled that satellite, but we have Rogers and Bell also working on satellite as well. So we'll work with them, and that's a very, very small percentage. But we are connecting millions of people on broadband internet, cell service, right across the province, and investing again well over $4 billion.
Premier Mark McAllister from City News. You've spent a great deal of time over the last year working with other premiers, working with the new Prime Minister. Today, however, you made mention of ships as an example being built elsewhere. Some of the product to build those ships being produced elsewhere, including Nova Scotia and BC. Is this a breakdown of some sort in your relationship between the other premiers and the Prime Minister?
Never, ever. Premier Houston's one of my best pals, and I want them to build ships. All I'm saying is before we weren't spending as much on our NATO commitment. Now we've increased it 5%, which is tens of billions of dollars. And all I'm saying is give us a slice of the pie, since we contribute more than anywhere with our population. That's all I'm asking for. I don't want to be greedy. I just want to make sure the people at Heddle have good paying jobs and we can build some ships. I'd love to see an aircraft carrier. Everyone benefits from that right across the board. But in saying that, the ships that we do build, they should be built here. Icebreakers should not be going over to Sweden or wherever they're being built. We should have a made in Ontario, made in Canada policy. But no, not at all. We get along very well, all of us actually.
On your trip to Hamilton today, you made reference to the traffic you saw going in the other direction, something you've brought up many times before. With the announcement last week that public sector workers are going back full-time, 5 days a week, is there more concern, increased traffic in and around the GTHA?
Yeah, it's costing us, just traffic in the GTHA is costing us $56 billion a year. Those are staggering numbers, and that's one of the reasons we're going to be building that tunnel. And we have to come up with solutions too, going down the QEW, because it's jam-packed. As this region is growing rapidly, we have to come up with solutions. One person's going to put a hovercraft there. I don't know how many cars a hovercraft can carry, but just different ideas that we need from local governments here. And I'm open to everything. But most important, if you don't have to use your car, don't hop on the GO train service that we're expanding. That's the best route to go. But what do you expect when you bring in over 2 million people? And I'm all pro-immigration, but in saying that, we got to slow down now, because the foundation of our healthcare system, our education, our infrastructure, everything we do is one thing. That's our economy. And we just need to make sure that we can keep up. We're building the schools, building the hospitals, we're building infrastructure, but we're the fastest growing region in North America. So let's just get caught up, get our housing, and then we can bring more people in.
Hi, Premier. Jessica from the Trillium. Project Ontario, the group of advocates who are trying to steer the PC government back towards a more conservative direction, is holding a policy convention next month. They tell us you've regularly accused municipalities of slowing down new housing construction, but failed to use the power you have to actually lower development charges, a driver of housing costs. So one organizer says he thinks you're afraid to take on the fight with municipalities to lower development charges. Is that true?
Who's this group?
Project Ontario. They'd like you to be more conservative.
Some right-wing radical group that wants to go after me? Probably. But anyways, I don't even know who these guys are, to be honest with you. So in saying that, we have supported the municipalities like no other government before. The Infrastructure Enabling Fund, which is billions of dollars that are going to help put the pipes in the ground and every area of infrastructure that is needed. I tried to, say, guys, lower the development charges. When you put a gun to someone's head, it doesn't work. They jump up and down and everything. But I got to give a shout out to a couple mayors, the mayor of Vaughan, Mayor Del Duca, and the mayor of Mississauga as well. They're voluntarily reducing development charges because they're smart. You get half a loaf instead of no loaf at all. Some people don't want to touch the development charges, and they wonder why there's no homes. It's amazing how some cities, and they're all good people, they mean, well, I need me more homes, but I'm not doing anything to create that environment and cut development charges. Well, what is it? One or the other. Create the environment and companies will come. Mayor Parrish in Mississauga, I forget the number, was staggering. How many thousands? 50% it went up? Thank you. My great Mississauga MPP, 50% housing permits. So that's 50% more. That's huge. So thank you, Mayor Parrish. Everyone else should follow suit.
All right, thanks. On another topic, I'm wondering if you could weigh on this, and perhaps Kevon too, because it was inspired by something you said. We understand the need for retraining, but we're wondering if there's any risk that the message you're sending today to steelworkers who still have their jobs is like a tacit acknowledgement that there's a big chance they're going to lose them. What's your message for these people?
Stay positive. The glass is half full. There's more opportunities. We're going to do everything we can to protect you. We're going to protect your companies. That will protect your jobs to the best of our ability. And we're going to get creative. We're going to diversify. We're going to outsource other areas that we can do business around the world rather than just relying on the United States. We have free trade deals with, I think it's 56 other countries. So let's start working with them and start sending our great products all around the world. And on the NATO commitments, let's start building more ships, light armored vehicles right here in Ontario. That's my message. And we're going to do everything we can to support the workers here in Ontario.
Hi, Premier. This is Emma McIntosh from the Toronto Star. I was just hoping you could respond to the reporting in the Star from over the weekend about Ontario Place. Was your government aware that auditors in Austria have raised concerns about Therma's finances in the last couple of years?
No, I haven't heard that at all. All I know is it's going to move forward. It's going to be spectacular. It's going to create thousands of jobs. It'll be the #1 tourist attraction in all of Canada once it gets done. They'll see 6 million people come through there outside of a dump that it was, sat there for 10 to 15 years doing absolutely nothing. We're going to build a world-class facility. Matter of fact, I had a gentleman come back from, I think it was Romania. And he says, I've never seen anything like it, this ceremony. And then we're going to build a new outdoor amphitheater there with Live Nation, and we're going to build a world-class science center. So all the naysayers, the same naysayers, I promise you, are going to be in line to go to the Ontario Science Center. One more point. We knocked on 2 million doors across Ontario, and I asked our team, did anyone mention Ontario Place? Not one person mentioned Ontario Place. You know, why don't we be positive? It's the only place I tell our governors, I'm spending $600 million on a new science center and giving it over, and we have a very small group complaining that they're going to get a brand new science center with more exhibit space, state of the art, and they look at me like, I'll take the new science center. So it would never happen in our state or our province even. I mentioned that to all the premiers too. So I'll deal with the few people that are always going to shout and scream if you do anything.
Thanks, Premier. Just one more on that.
Yeah.
When your government first announced Therma as a partner for Ontario Place, you said that delivery certainty was one of the factors that the government considered.
Yeah.
Are you concerned that you might not have communicated the risk in that to the public accurately?
No, I don't know why you're going down this road. We're building a great destination with Therma, with Live Nation, and with the Science Center. And I look forward for you to call me and say, Doug, can you bring me down to the Ontario Science Center or Ontario Place, and we'll have a great time. It's going to be spectacular. Mark my words, we're going to bring transit right in there. It's going to be a wow factor once it's done, and it's going to create thousands of jobs on top of that.
This will be the last reporter.
Morning.
How are you?
Carol Charles, CTV News, Toronto. Yeah. I'm asking this question on behalf of colleagues in Ottawa, CTV News, Ottawa.
Yes.
New data obtained by CTV Ottawa through a Freedom of Information request shows a large discrepancy in the crime stats cited by the health minister when she announced the decision to close a supervised consumption site in Ottawa's Chinatown neighborhood. She said violent crime in the area was up 146%, but the data shows it was down 23%. Where did the government get its data?
So CTV is 100% wrong because we double, triple checked that. I made a phone call before I come out. So CTV, you've got to check your facts. We called the police down there. Their numbers were exactly the same as ours. So saying you put in a safe consumption site and you got a bunch of drug addicts hanging out and drug dealers, and you say crime went down. No, it didn't. It did go up exactly the amount that my deputy premier said it went up. So whoever's telling you that, tell them to call me on my cell phone. We'll get the police on the phone and we'll give you the exact numbers so you can report the correct numbers. Carly, it's not you too, because you know I love you. You're the best. And I feel bad, but like they got to do their research. Okay, they just have to do it because I double, triple checked that, and we double checked it with the Ottawa police.
And follow up to their question, an Ottawa councillor is accusing the government of lying about the crime stats. What is your response to that?
Well, they're wrong. Have you ever went to Byward Market? We had to put a police station down there. It's ridiculous. You ask anyone that lives in Ottawa if the crime has gone down. Anyway, I'm not going to argue with some councillor. It isn't. It's a disaster in Ottawa. Ask anyone who lives in Ottawa, anyone who goes downtown. We had to fund a police station, a mini police station, down in Byward Market because it's a beautiful market. No one was going there. I was there, what was it, yesterday, the day before. We drove through. It looks pretty good. But, yeah, you got guys doing the jackknife and everything else. The jackknife, or drug addicts, are bent over and guys passing out. And we went to a Tim's, we had to jump over the person on the sidewalk. I want to help these people, and that's why we invested $550 million into heart hubs. But we can't have people all over our streets all drugged out. It can't happen. I want to help them, but I'm not going to sit there and say, oh yeah, everything is great. Guarantee it's some crazy lefty that said that. I'm going to find out. That thinks it's all right to do drugs everywhere, and the government starts supplying drugs to these drug addicts, which I'm dead against as well. Boy, this is quite an exciting press conference. You guys press my buttons. Okay, Jamie, you get the last shot. Go ahead, buddy. Wow.
Actually, this is much serious. Not far from your house, an 8-year-old boy was shot and killed in this building.
Terrible. It's heartbreaking. You know, on Trethewey Drive, Martin Eathaway, number 10 Martin Eathaway, very familiar. These are the punks that are running around with guns, terrorizing our communities, right? And they're shooting up this building, and a poor little boy lost his life. He was sleeping in bed. But I wouldn't be surprised they catch these punks, and some bleeding heart judge is going to say, oh, let's let him out. This has to change, I'm telling you. We're hearing it over and over again every single day. We have to get the criminal code changed. The Prime Minister promised myself and the premiers he will change bail reform in September when he comes back. And not some watered-down bail reform, hardcore bail reform. You have a gun, you commit a crime, you're doing 10 years. Simple. Watch how crime starts declining when you hold people accountable. But we got to get it together, folks, on with the criminal code, because we're seeing more crime than U.S. cities are seeing now. We're seeing more car thefts than U.S. cities, more home invasions than U.S. cities. You steal a car in the U.S., you break down a door, a gun, you're doing 15 years. That's what we should be doing here, and you'll see the crime go down. But I'll be all over this one. It's a heartbreaking story. Poor boy and the family.
This concludes today's press conference.
Thanks, folks. I appreciate everyone. Thank you.